No, we're good. You go.
I call this meeting to order. Today, September 25th, 2019. The time is 6:43. I call this meeting of the Edgar Chelsea Independent School District to order. Roll call.
Let the record show that the following Board of Trustees are present. Board President Robert Smallstreet. Board Vice President Chris Morales.
Here.
Board Secretary Robert Peacock. Here. Board Trustee Fernando Torres Jr.
Here.
Board Trustee Juan J. Ibarra. Here. Board Trustee Tony Barco.
Here.
Board Trustee Rolando Lozano.
Here.
Board Vice President, we have quorum.
Okay, let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Will you please lead us in the pledge, Mr. Torres?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rocha, will you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, tonight we just thank you for the opportunity to come together and giving us this beautiful day that we enjoy. We thank you also, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings that you continue to place on our district. And Heavenly Father, tonight we just ask that you guide Dr. Rivera and our board of trustees, that you fill them with the wisdom as they work so hard to make those very important decisions for our district. And Heavenly Father, we ask that you keep all our students and all our staff here at Edgar Chelsea safe every single day, and that you bless everybody gathered here tonight, and everybody here just give out your name and give you all the praise and glory and say amen.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the community? Item 3.
No comments? No.
Okay. Item 4, Superintendent's report.
Yes, I have several slides. And I'll start with the enrollment as of the 4th week. You can see that compared to last year, right now we're at a minus 160, comparing apples to apples. And you can see the ones in the red where we are under where we were last year. And basically it's really all the schools except the high school and the 6th grade. So I'm concerned. I know you're concerned. But right now, again, it's minus 160. And what will help us this year, though, is a pre-K 3. We have 166, and last year we had none in the district. So those count towards 1/2 funding. So right now we're doing okay. But I'm concerned about next year, because with this kind of hit, we'll have to reduce the budget. On page 2. There's a big ball game against the Tigers, Mercedes, on Friday. And we're proud to show some banners that we posted. And on page 3, you see the powerlifting. And these are sponsored by Ben Escobar. Proud of this powerlifting team. On page 4, this is our football team. This is the team that's going to defeat the Tigers on Friday. I'm very optimistic. And sponsored by Gulf Coast Paper. On page 5, this is a banner at the stadium with a volleyball team. Very proud of the girls. I think they're ranked right now in the state in the top 10. Very proud of the team. On page 6, we have our cross-country teams, the boys and the girls, sponsored by Linebarger. Very proud of our cross-country teams. On page 7, there's a banner of the band. Again, very proud of our band. On page 8, there's a picture of our cheerleaders in the Gold Brigade. These girls do a tremendous job Friday nights. On page 9, I want to go ahead and bring you kind of a report on the current status of the construction projects. David Ibarra Fine Arts Academy, we're ready to finalize payment. The Ag Building, the punch list is still in review. Substantial completion is set for late September, which is Monday of next week, when September ends. Then the partial payment is being worked out with the contractor to leave a payment balance prior to substantial completion. The high school gym, you can see they've done a lot of work there with the floor, the varnishing, the bleachers, the stain, the stripping, the coats, the logo graphics. They tell us that the floor will be ready for use by October the 7th, which is next week. The Technology Center, food service building, substantial completion is set for approval tonight. On page 10, I want to report to the board that we received a grant, a planning grant of $300,000 from TEA. This is phase 1 for Carlos Truan Junior High School. Now, this grant was available for this coming year for any school that's identified as comprehensive support campus and must meet accountability for 2 years. As you're aware right now, that campus needs improvement. We were below, we were on the PEG list, so the grant is for that. The grant is to improve instruction, and the funds will be used right now for the staff development, travel, expense, and technology. There were four options available, and the one that we selected, the one that we selected was option number 4, restart a struggling school. There were 3 other options that I felt were not something that we would like to undertake. These are probably for big schools. One is to create a new school or reassign students. So I felt we don't want to go there and start a brand new school. So this was the best option available to us. And again, the option is to restart a struggling school, which would be David Ibarra and the Truan Academy. So on the next page, these are the elements. These are the elements. The restart schools are only eligible to implement an Accelerating Campus Excellence Program, the ACE, which requires districts to evaluate the academic and instructional programs. With this grant, we'll be assisted by organizations selected by TA, as well as we implement the ACE program. It includes Maya Consultants, Commit, and Houston Educational Leadership. Current districts using this plan are Dallas, Richardson, San Antonio, Edgewood, and Steph and I plan to attend sometime in October, this particular one.
We don't have any local districts around here
No,
that do the ACE program?
no. These are the
There must
only
be a
ones that
difference.
picked this one. Now, as we look at this one, at the phase two, I'm also looking on the school that we have set up on 1015, or the tutorial program over there in 1015. So I think if we are funded the phase 2, we can use some of this money to assist us in that program with tutorials and teachers. And so I'm looking at this grant, the phase 2, to be able to assist us with this plan. So this plan has 5 components. The next steps is we're going to meet with the consultants, and we'll present this to the board. In November, we'll submit the plan, the phase 2, to TA, and this phase 2 on the top shows that we'll get from $500 to $2 million. So with this money, again, it's a grant. It's for David Ibarra and Truan. So this grant promises a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of research on the components. We have the extended school day. We have social emotional support, parent partnerships, instructional excellence. So all we have to do now is apply for we have the phase 1. We're going to apply for the phase 2, And if we're funded, we'll know sometime in November. But again, up to $2 million to help us with those two schools to bring them up to where they're supposed to be. There's additional monies, incentives for teachers from $10,000 to $15,000 per year as we are able to evaluate them and come up with these incentives. So again, right now it's $300,000. We'll work on the plan, come back to the board for you to approve it in November. And again, we can get up to $2 million that will help us with those two schools. Really one school, which is Ibarra and Truan. So again, we're very excited about this. Monies, we've got consultants, we have TA involved to help us make those two schools better and get us out of the stages that we are right now. On page 13, I listed some district-wide maintenance needs that are not budgeted. As I've been here the month, I've seen some areas where we've seen roof leaks at the JFK cafeteria. We're looking at canopies, playground district-wide, additional work at Ibarra Academy, additional work at the Ag Barn. The Kate Vocational outside wing, there's a lot of carpentry work needed. The administration building here, we have roof and exterior wall leaks. We're looking at district-wide roof leaks. We're exploring where we have the warranties first. We're looking at the drainage district-wide. Netting needed at Garcia Elementary. There's the pigeon problem that we have there, and they do their nesting there, and they have to clean up in the morning. It's not healthy for our kids. Looking at perhaps to air condition the elementary gyms, the fine arts cleanup, the expansion of the administration conference executive room. We're looking at the baseball, softball scoreboards that they tell me have not worked. On the second column, track and football fields, tennis courts, band equipment, replace security surveillance system at the high school boiler room, which is on tonight's agenda, the roof extension and transportation department, district-wide fencing, the learning center lease of the building, district-wide vehicles for home visits. The board mentioned this last time. The stadium press box. Again, these are short-term and long-term, but I just listed all the ones that we have to eventually look at. Repair the district marquee, campus marquees, campus computers. Today I met with the librarians and they tell me that we're falling behind with the computers for our students. District-wide landscaping. We're looking at handicap restroom renovations district-wide, some classroom furniture, and some lights at the stadium parking lot. Again, these are some of the ones that we have. It's not all of them. Some can be done quickly, some are long-term, but just some of the needs. And these are not budgeted. However, on page 14, and the rest of this, there's some monies that I want to go over the board that we have available for these projects. On page 14, we can see the fund balance. For the last 3 years, we've used fund balance for different projects, which are things that we needed. So for these, the fund balance right now is over 10 million, but the fund balance cannot be used for these projects because we're already pretty close to where we need to be. So the fund balance cannot be used anymore for any of these projects because the monies, we cannot go lower than the 10 million. On page 15, this is our attendance. This is where we are right now. We set the budget this school year for 2020 at 4,376. Right now, preliminary, we're at 43. So we're above this. And I'm working with the principals every week to look at the attendance. So I'm very comfortable that for this year, we'll be able to match the 4,376 and get additional monies for the district at the end of the year. But for next year, if the trend continues for 2021, if the trend continues where we lose 150 kids every year, then we'll have to reduce the budget by over $1 million if we continue with losing students. So, yes.
On the numbers, I'm still going back and looking at, the high numbers per campus. Have we identified where they're going to? Is it IDEA who's taking the kids, or is it they're transferring to different districts?
It's really a combination, but most of these are going to IDEA.
Okay. And have we set up a plan as to how because we say it's a trend, but what are we doing to avoid
Well,
growing
what we
this
do-
number? But we need to, if we want to keep, our district healthy and all of our employees.
We're making visits.
I mean, there's a lot of the double digits are concerning. I was expected, I expected to lose some kids here. The academy numbers are down 24. So there's a lot of double digit numbers that are really concerning. And those are kind of what, we need to be a little bit more. Now, there's some elementaries that are doing really well. So maybe we need to find out where that elementary, those PEMS clerks or those, what are you doing? What are they doing to keep their numbers? I don't know. It's just, and I know we keep beating this dead horse every meeting.
Mr. Rivera, why don't you put together a committee so we can talk about it every meeting that we have. It's obvious that whatever we're doing is not working the way it should be. Why don't you put together a committee, assign somebody, and those individuals be responsible in coming back to us and recommending to us, like Chris was talking about, and Rolly, and see what we need to do to change the attitude of parents and or whomever, our staff, and see what we can do. Okay, if not, we've talked about it quite a bit, and we're still here talking about it.
I will do that. I'll get a committee.
Make somebody responsible for that.
Okay, again, that's a task, and like I've always said, difficult, but not impossible.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna get it done. I mentioned a lot of needs, and some of the good things now is that there's a little money available in different accounts that we can make up and do some of these projects. On page 16, we have unemployment accounts that were self-funded, and we budget, for example, this year we budgeted $30,000. The expense the last 3 years has been about $30,000. Now this account on page 16 is, we have a fund balance right now of $491,000. So, and this account is used when someone is terminated, when someone is rifted, and the monies are there to pay unemployment, and we're self-funded. So right now we've got 491, and if the board is okay with this, we can do a budget amendment next month and bring in about $400,000 into our construction fund to take some of the projects that we're doing. On page 17, the same thing with workers' compensation, that we're self-funded, and this is when someone gets hurt on the job to pay medical bills. Every year we budgeted, on the top you see what we have budgeted. We budgeted for this year $767,000, and the second column shows how much we actually spent in expenses. So there's a surplus. So the total fund balance on the self-funded, the fund balance on workers' comp is $2.2 million. So this $2.2 million, 1.5 is the general fund, federal is $150, and cafeteria is $290. So again, if the board is okay with this, at the next meeting, I can transfer about $1.5 million into our general fund and use for construction projects.
Doc, I'd like to, bring this up for next meeting. I think it'd be a good idea to just review that a little bit further. Where
Okay.
we can put it into.
Next meeting.
Okay. I can do that. We can bring it back, and again, the monies are here. It's just standing there. Right now, there's either we invest the money and get low interest, or we use the money for some of the projects. Because right now, it's just standing there. Not doing anything either way. But again, we have all of these needs, so I'll bring it back to the board. And the last slide that I have is in SHARS. This is the deferred revenue available. There is currently over $1.5 million available, and this revenue is generated from the reimbursements of Medicare provided services to students in special ed and to resources. The district may use these funds at our discretion. In fact, these funds were the ones that were used to build the special ed building several years ago. Again, there's 1.5, we can bring in $1 million from this account to meet our district needs, our facilities, and the remaining 538 can be left in the account as a rainy day fund. The SHARS rainy day fund and all future revenues coming to this account will be monitored to ensure the district is maximizing its SHARS revenues. If we're not maximizing, if we can study options to either to stay with the current company or seek other quotes. But the money is here.
Doc,
Again, we can
see-
use $1 million.
Just came to me, but because I saw that you had playground equipment on your other slide, and now I'm seeing SHARS here. Since this is special ed money and it's SHARS money, yes, we could use it any way we can. But can you come back with a plan to implement some playground equipment for some special ed need, or some special need kids?
Yeah.
I mean, we have none, and I think it'd only be right, since this is their funds, that we can kind of bring some playground equipment into some of these elementary schools at least, that some of our special needs students can use. So if you can look into that and please bring it back to the board.
If you saw the needs, I did put.
Yes, I saw that.
playground
That's what
equipment.
it just came to my mind right now when,
Use some of this money
right.
for that.
And it came to mind right now when I'm reading this. I think it'd be a great
Okay.
asset to our district to have a couple of, things they can use.
So in summary, this report shows the attendance is going down, there's needs, but there's also some monies available to meet some of these needs. And again, we have to work hard on not losing this number of kids every year. We cannot sustain that. This is my report. Any other questions?
Thank you, Doc.
So what I gather is you want me to, on these items, on these monies, to bring you back at the
Yeah,
next
let's
meeting?
bring it back,
Some
what can actually be
information
transferred
about-
over and what ideas
Yeah.
could be concrete.
Okay, very good. Will do.
Any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Next item we have is consent agenda items. We have item A all the way to item BV.
I'd like to, on C, payment of current bills. Going over it, I see a couple of them that pop. Obviously, this year we had to spend about $12,000 for the field repairs. The seams, obviously we're ripping on the football field. I know we have to repair. Want to see what we can do to make sure that we do a little bit better this year, taking care of the field right now. Because obviously we can't afford $12,000 every year or every couple of months. So I think the use has got to be.
I know they did say this was one of the items that was also on the insurance,
Yes.
right? So we might be able to get replaced, bro. Hopefully.
We're meeting with the adjuster on all those projects.
Another one I had, something that popped out was on page 24 of 25, circuit removal for $4,653.
I'll let Ms. Garza look at it.
I have 24. Up on the top. Yes. 4653. Circuit removal for $4,600. What was that for? I mean, I was thinking if it was related to the flood, then wouldn't that have been insurance? Okay.
More than likely was part of the, we're putting in some type of circuit or something.
It says removal though. Can you guys check it out? Maybe after the break, let me know what you can find. And I guess the next one I hear that I'm looking at is that I'm seeing a lot of contract services, seeing consultants. I mean, in the thousands and thousands of dollars. Can you maybe start looking back who's authorizing these things? I mean, I know some of them federal programs and things like that, but I want to make sure that if it's federal, that we're getting our money back. If it's not, we got to understand because in those bills, we just paid $2.5 million. $2.5 million will never come back to us. That's gone. It's obviously that's gone, but I saw way too many contract services and consultant fees that some of them look repetitive, and there's some big chunks out there. So, Dak, let's put some
Will do.
attention to that. I really
take a
want to
look
make
at
sure that we lower that as much. And that's the last one I have is on page 6 of 25. Mobile video tapes. What is that? For $4,995. Those are ads?
The
Channel 5, $5,000. Okay. All right, Doc, that's all I have.
Okay.
I had one on page 10 of 25. We have ankle braces for 2,000. I just want to make sure, is that all we bought? Ankle braces, $2,000 worth? Is that something we spent?
Athletics?
If it was volleyball, it's about right, bro.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was it?
No, ankle braces. But if it was for volleyball, it's about right.
That's all right?
And then I'm sure those, well, I don't know, we need to talk to athletics about that, but some of them can be refurbished too from year in and year out. They don't have to purchase that.
Now, Doc, I'd like to jump over to the next one here, which is the revenues and expenditures, budget versus actual, general operating fund.
Okay.
The sheet that, going over the number, obviously, the last year, the budget was amended after the original budget had come out, and I remember that. But I'm still seeing that there's so, even after an amended budget, we still blew some of the budgetary areas out of the water. And the one that kind of stuck out to me the most was actually transportation. We lost kids, we didn't gain routes, but we spent more. And fuel is cheaper than it was the year before. A lot of it is fuel? But they're more efficient. They're supposed to be more,
Even the brand new ones break down, and they're constantly being taken in.
but the new ones are under warranty, no? Martin?
Some of them are, and some of them have already exceeded the mileage. But a lot of it is just repairs. Constantly, we're taking vehicles, we have repairs, we're doing some of the repairs, but a lot of it is just draining us with the prices of the repairs and the parts have gone up drastically. So consequently, we're still having the same budget, but everything is going up around us. So consequently, the money is just going directly on the expense.
I think we need to have some kind of accountability. I think maybe a report each week or each month on the breakdowns that we've had and the money that we spent, because you're talking about, that right there in itself is a $2 to $3 million hit. So,
Can we look at maybe hiring, do we have an in-house mechanic?
I'll give you month to month,
Could-
the cost, the vendor, and what was done.
we have mechanics.
Do we have an in-house diesel mechanic or no? Do we have an in-house diesel mechanic or no? Maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe looking at hiring somebody, I mean, another one, or I don't know.
At $2 million on repairs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that tells me that.
¿Me entiendes? Así now we can, I don't know.
We had to replace the motor on, about 71, and we didn't replace the whole motor because it was gonna be 20,000.
Yeah.
So we ended up replacing only the damaged parts, and still went up to 10,000.
Yeah.
How much does a brand new bus run?
Brand new bus, we're looking at 103, 104,000.
Yeah.
So we could buy about 18 brand new buses?
18 brand new buses.
Let's do that.
For what we've done here.
Yeah.
But that concerns me. I want to make sure that we're looking at that, maybe on a, Doc, as part of the thing, you know, the monthly expenditures in transportation, just so we'll get, get some control of that. Because it worries me that we're spending $2 to $3 million. And my last one here, yeah, no, I'm not sure.
The thing is that those buses are way too old, and we're spending a lot of money on those things. And the day you're gonna sell this thing, they're worth $5,000 and
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we got to get some control of what it's actually hurting us. Is it better to buy the whole motor and make sure it works with a warranty versus half a motor and still put other repairs into it?
Can you bring some options for the next meeting, the next regular meeting?
Yeah, let's look at this because $2 million that's a lot of money.
We could buy new buses for that.
And then my last one here is on plant maintenance and operation. That one blew the budget, the original budget, by almost $2.5 million. The original budget. So you're talking that it's almost $7 million that we spent so far. That's looking at some of the old numbers. That's about $2 million more than we had in the past. But we still have the same amount of buildings. It's not like we have more buildings. So that right there was a red flag for me. So let's And those two items, like I see, we can have just a breakdown when we're having a month to month to see what we're actually spending. So we'll, as a board, understand what to expect in every month. You know what, we just spent 500,000 on this. What can we do to prevent it in the future? That's all I have.
Any more questions?
Anybody else? We're not pulling that item in. I mean, they were just. No, we're good? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda items as presented.
Slow move.
All right, so motion has been done by Mr. Lozano, second by Mr. Torres. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, we have presentations. Presentation of possible district drainage, presentation A, improvements, Mr. Roberto Salinas.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Rivera. I'm here to present a few slides on the storm drainage assessment project that I was asked to look into for now. We're going to go ahead and start some of the facts that happened back in the June flood event, which is called the Great June Flood number 2 event. Number 1, of course, was last year, 2018, over the same period, the same month. So basically what we had here in Encal, Texas, the approximate rainfall during those days was 12.2 inches. Of course, Santa Rosa got hit the most at 15 inches, and West Oakland less with 7 inches. Other facts as far as the National Weather Service. If you look at the last bullet, Elsa and Monte Alto, the flooding rates in 4 drainage led at least 4 feet of water in at least one neighborhood, and of course throughout the city, other levels as far as 1, 2, 3 throughout the cities, and of course requiring evacuations as well. This is the radar, weather radar at that time. That was at 1:30 a.m. June 25th. And if we look at that, we can see the actual area of Elsa, Santa Rosa, that got hit the hardest during this June flood event. And these are some of the pictures that I got from the National Weather Service as well, which were during those days. That's south of Elsa. 88. That's also south of Elsa. That's another National Weather Center photo number 2. Those are some of the pictures that I acquired through
88 and Mount 12.
website.
El Condado night there.
We're not gonna call that something, we call that Northwest. That is a classic, right?
So we can see we had 2 feet of water throughout SH-107 and areas of Mount West. This is a contour map that was given me by the Hidalgo County, and it doesn't have any references as far as streets or buildings. But this is, you can see the laser. This is 107, and this is Mount 4 West, right? If you can see the legend, we can see that 70, that means 70 feet above sea level on this right-hand side or left-hand side of the street. And we can see it changing colors, and of course it's going to be changing the elevations of altitude of the actual natural ground. We can see some of the buildings that are out. You can see here. This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is RCR Elementary. This is early childhood, and this is where we're at right now, which means that the water or the rainfall, when you have a rainfall event, everything tends to go south of the old ag farm of the ditch. Everything here goes south, and it goes into the intersection of 107 and 104 West. Then draining south through pipes and through the ditch that is south of SH-107. So, in other words, this is like the catchment basin of the area. And we can see some of the, for example, the technology building, you can see here in red, which is around 59 feet above sea level, which of course has a lower floor elevation than any of the other buildings, such as the high school, RCR, and Greenwich Childhood. which, was talking to, Mr. Julio Rodriguez, didn't get any water inside, those buildings. So this is the area of concentration, everything here, serves as a catch area, and then of course it makes its way, under 107, down south to the Hidalgo County, and south of Mount Vernon. So that's an interesting contour map to look at, and we can see, of course, some of the subdivisions to the north, west, very blue, they're on a higher ground, except those here next to the main ditch that go north and south. So
Where is the intersection of Mile 4 and 107 there?
right here, this is mile 4. I'm sorry, 107, mile 4.
There you are, man.
Yeah.
Orange area. that's good.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
So we
My
can
house
see
is the one in blue.
the low lying areas on red. You see the high on the, as far as the building, the one being high, some of the other buildings along mile 4. And yes, the technology building in terms of low floor elevation, and some of the buildings here to the east, meaning the cell building and some of the buildings here west of mile 4. Yes. So, going into the next slide, I'm showing this picture here because this is the new or under construction or finalizing the ag barn building, right? This is Mount
we live right here.
Yeah.
This is very trouble, and this is one of the main ditches that take some of the load of the storm water from west of Mount West, and of course the area of east of Mount West. Of course, there's a high point here in Mount West, which I'm going to show on the next slide, which everything from here, sheet flows, or through storm lines goes south into 107, going to that low area of Mount 4, 107 intersection. This is the same ditch. Right to my right is the old ag farm where I took this picture. So this is some of the ideas that we're bringing up to the table, and this is of course the existing ditch that we have right now. This is the existing ditch, and this is some of the widening that we can do, and we can of course increase the volume, increase the catching basin at this area. So that we can prevent or at least alleviate some of the flooding in this area.
And that'd be working with the drainage district?
We'll be working with, yes, on that section, yes, we'll be working with Hidalgo County Drainage District number 1 as far as a project to do outlining of that section. On this picture I'm showing, this is the old ag barn, just to get a reference point, RCR, some of the key buildings. So this is some of the area or property that the district has also that we can look into implementing a detention pond here on the lower left to capture some of the drainage of this area and alleviate some of the flooding. So this is a typical detention pond that will serve this area here, which is where the facilities is at, and of course try to capture some of that water here at the technology building and north. So these are two of the options. One is doing, of course, a detention pond, and the other one is doing a detention pond with turbine pumps, or do a pump system as far as a lift station and pump the water out. So those are some of the options that we're looking at. Oh, this is the picture that I wanted to show. This is Mile 4 West. This is the facilities. Over here is the technology building. So everything here in the parking lot underground and of course above, sheet flows down south to 107. Mile 4, 107, everything from more or less from the old ag barn, sheet flows to 107. It doesn't go to the ditch. It goes
Opposite.
So we can capture some of this waters, maybe halfway through to the detention pond and then to the ditch, and let the other water run its course to 107. So those are some of the options that we're looking at. And this picture here shows the catching basin, the low line, some of the low lying areas. This is looking, by the way, this is looking south on 107 or mile 4 west. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the slides. This is the catching area, the low lying area. Everything accumulates here, then it makes itself down south to the drainage and the Hidalgo County irrigation drainage district number 1 canal crossing 4 miles. And this is another picture showing where the canal, the drainage district canal is at. Again, this is just to get the bearings right. North is this way, 107, mile 4 west, and everything from this area here is draining down south. So this ditch has, of course, three culvert pipes, close to, I think they're 48-inch pipes, so they have 4.
The bank is
and
there.
this is draining FM88 and some of the subdivisions on this side. So you can imagine all the water pushing through and having this water push through this as well. So it's everything's backing
All
up,
that area was
holding here until all the water reside here, and of course let the waters go from this section. This is the other this is just to get the bearings. This is the baseball field. This is the walking trail, and of course there's a detention pond as well. This is one of the minor ditches that take care of the parking lot at the football stadium, going south around, and I'm going to show another picture of that, going around the baseball field and coming into the detention pond, and then coming out into this small drain ditch, then crossing mile 4 west as well. So we're getting like a regional detention pond going through that same ditch. So these are some of the areas that contribute to this ditch and the existing detention pond with the walking trail. We have the football stadium, all those waters coming down south and making its way through the small drain ditch here and the actual detention pond that was constructed, I believe it was 4 years ago, if I'm mistaken, 4 or 5 years ago. And of course it lets the water out to this ditch going east across Mount Forest. This is the detention pond, existing detention with the walking trail, and where all the flow, some of the flows are coming to this detention pond, and then making its way out through this bar ditch, going across Mount West, crossing the old I-1, just right over to the ditch. And there can be some improvements made here. This ditch can actually be underground. The holding time and the holding capacity of this ditch is very minimal. We can increase it by either adding pipes, covering it, and of course making this ditch over here wider, east of Mount West. So this is the ditch that we're looking at making wider, and of course using some of the property here to make a detention pond to alleviate the area. So this is just another picture showing the crossing here. Old I-1, the walking trail, the field, all the water coming, going through across Mount West.
Is there any projected costs of this, Mr. Salinas, or at this point? Or?
I don't have a projected cost. I know that we've talked about that. I'm gonna be creating a spreadsheet to get the options of those two, and then of course presenting it back to the board.
Perfect.
That was just to look at the areas,
Right.
to try to think, well, what are the best options to alleviate the situation of some of the floods, and of course I guess the communication with the county and of course TxDOT to see what else can be done to alleviate the situation here in the area.
Perfect.
Because I know that the retention pond that we have at the walking trail, that one gets completely filled to the rim. Do we know and have an idea as to how many cubic
I can
inches
get that
of
for you
water?
by measuring doing a topography inside the actual detention pond.
That way we can have an idea as how big we would need to,
For this next one.
because I mean, you don't want to do something tiny and then not even, you know, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to
Sure,
work that
no,
out.
I can get the detention volume of
big
that,
area.
pond as well.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Salinas. I appreciate it.
No need to do the retaining services, they do the,
All right, so next item we have is item B. We have a presentation by SFE on after-school meals. Mr. Javier Romero.
Members of the board, I had asked Dr. Rivera to put this item on the agenda. I know we have an after-school meal program right now for some of our kids that are staying for tutoring and after-school programs. So we do have, that's not what this is, just to let y'all know. Dallas, a friend of mine at Dallas ISD has this program with any unused food, not waste. You're talking about food that has been left over. They're repackaging it and sending it home with some of these needy kids. I had talked to Dr. Rivera about maybe putting this program in place here at Cal Chelsea to reduce waste, one, and we have a lot of need. There's a lot of our students going home hungry, and I thought this would be a great idea that we can maybe bring to our district. They're just gonna, let Mr. Romero present, but I think that, this is exactly what this is about, just to let you all know.
Good evening, Vice President, board members, Dr. Thank you for having us today. I think for the presentation together, because I wasn't sure exactly where we were going to head on this, but I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that program that you're discussing. I've been doing a lot of research to find out more or less what they do in their district. One of the things that I did find out is we would have to partner with a nonprofit or a food bank to implement this program with the leftovers that we would have leftovers at the different campuses. So one of the other things that we did, and then Chef Elia here assisted me with putting some numbers together, we kind of went to go at each campus and looked at production records, that's, you know, the items that we produce, what we have leftover, and looked at the leftover and how many we're having. So some campuses have a little bit more than other campuses leftovers. We would have to identify which site we would serve it at, and then, you know, what is the biggest need. Of course, the secondary campuses have a little bit more leftovers because they also offer more choices.
Right.
And the elementary level, we only offer 3 choices, and we do a lot of batch cooking in the elementary, so there's not that many leftovers. So we would have to identify exactly what area or, you know, we want to do. We will do each campus, and of course, there's other equipment that would also have to be purchased. For example, food chillers, which of course bring the temperature down from the items that are prepared.
Right.
Cooling down, it can be rapidly.
And I was going to tell you that I called him again this week on Monday just to get kind of, you know, he was telling me that what they're doing right now at DISD is they're collecting everything and putting it into chillers, and then over the weekend, Friday afternoon is when they distribute most of these meals, so that these children have food for the weekend. He goes, because they were noticing that a lot of their kids would go home, come back on Monday, and they were starving. You know, so he said what they were doing is they were collecting a lot of this food, chilling it, sealing it obviously, and then chilling it, and then they were using it Friday afternoons for the most part, kind of when they started this distribution process. That's kind of the gist of what I got from it.
Are they paired up with the nonprofit?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I didn't ask. I need to ask. I didn't ask that.
Again, and I kind of read the TDA regulations.
Okay.
And that is stated on that. And even if there's a state bill, 742, I think, that talks a little bit about donating food, that school districts are allowed without having to have any liabilities.
Right.
But again, they would have to, partner with a nonprofit organization or a food bank.
Well, we could partner with RGV Food Bank. I mean, we got.
And that's the thing.
LSAT has a food bank.
Well, that through RGV Food Bank, right? Yeah. So maybe we could partner with the city, come up with some type of. I mean, again, it was just something I wanted to bring to the board, guys, just so that we can.
I think it's a great idea.
I mean, just to look at it. I mean, and I know we need some chillers and a sealer, right? Correct? Is that?
Yes, and chillers and some, we do have some equipment to kind of seal the product. We will probably just, there'll be some other expenses that we have to get. But the chiller, we kind of price them, they're about $7 grand each.
Okay.
To have at each campus. Again, these are the smaller size campuses.
Right.
Big sizes. And of course, you know, having to put two together, we have to put all that stuff together, on how we would process that. You know, I'm still in the process of getting more compliance pieces together to ensure that, you know, we are completely, you know, covering sure that we're doing it the right way. Ensure that, you know, we do the best we can for our students. And,
Perfect.
I know we also talked about, last year we were talking about there was a dinner program that they wanted to also start. You know, we're also looking at doing that. That's something we're going to discuss.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, if you can come back maybe next month with an actual cost estimate of where we're at, maybe a little bit, you know, again, it's just something I really want to look at. I see it every day. There's a lot of need, and really, I mean, it's something that there's no reason for our children to be going home hungry, you know, and if we can help them out, I'd appreciate we look at that. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Romero.
Thank you. Next item we have is discussion and action items. We have item A, discussion and first reading of TASB localized policy update on technology disposal procedures, presented by Dr. Rivera.
Yes, on page 357 in your manual, you can see the local policy. And this originated because of the technology issue we had earlier in the summer. And the Attorney General had asked that we come up with a policy in reference to the data security breach. So the policy is here, TASB has reviewed it, and it is now part of our policy. So basically, we just need board approval.
So, second.
All right, motion has been made by Mr. Torres, second by Mr. Lozano. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next item, we have item B. We have discussion and possible action to expand the executive room at EISD Administration Building.
Yes,
Presenter, Dr. Rivera.
on page 360, we met with Rudy, and Rudy has come up with a plan here. It can be done. There shouldn't be any major problem. So really, I just need your direction to go ahead and get some quotes and go out there and pick the lowest quote or proposal if it's higher than a certain amount, and come back and do the work.
I mean, I'm okay with it as long as we make sure we follow the proper procurement processes. I don't want anything, but I'd make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, motion is made by Mr. Rolly Lozano, second by Fernando Torres. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Item C, we have discussion and action to approve a construction procurement method for the gym boiler project, presented by Eli Ochoa, ERO Architects.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President, members of the board. Our drawings are ready, and we're awaiting just approval from the board to go out for bids. If you'll notice the item right after this, we do have to select a selection method. I've been pondering which direction to go as far as trying to give you all some advice. I'm thinking if we just go ahead and use the procurement method that we've used on all the other projects, it's something that you're used to. And then we're going to go out and try to see if we can get some interest from some of the contractors to come in. We haven't had a whole lot of success in getting a large number. We've reached out to a lot of them, but we're going to keep trying to see what we can do to help get you guys at least 3 to 4 bids.
Okay.
Mr. Ochoa, I don't
Yes, sir.
I don't know what a boiler is, but is it that big of a project where you need to get a contractor to do it?
Well, that was a very good question, by the way. And that's one of the things I was pondering, because it's primarily a mechanical contractor type project. A boiler it's a large
Water
piece of
heater.
equipment that heats water.
Yeah.
And you use it for showering and things of that nature in the gym. And it's a very efficient way of providing hot water. But what ended up happening, if y'all remember, I don't need to remind you, it burst, and so water went in and
So you're going to recommend a competitive seal proposal process, CSP?
yes, I was thinking of leaning toward just a competitive bid and hope we'd get mechanical contractors. But I'm starting to think right now, we have no way of vetting if we don't do a proposal.
None of these
Just
folks
get
are on
some-
buy board?
Monday?
There's no vendors on a purchasing cooperative that do
You know,
this?
that's a very good point, and you might be able to do this under buy board. We can investigate that.
Okay.
But yeah, 'cause-
There should be at least 3 vendors on the buy board to do this kind of work.
So,
That's a possibility.
yeah, 'cause it's not like a huge.
No, it's a very small project.
Yeah, but
It's
there's
very
more than
intense,
just,
but it's a small
not just buying
project.
a boiler.
yeah, because they got to seal the ceiling of the room as well, correct?
There's some, to prevent this from happening again.
That's
right?
correct, and we're sealing the floors, and then we're sealing up the walls.
Could we
We can
make, could we
investigate
make a motion for them to investigate the procurement process? I mean, is that?
Yeah.
You know,
Would it be possible to authorize the superintendent to finalize?
but that's
a
what I'm, yeah,
decision
they did.
after we-
I'm okay with
Are y'all okay with that? Yeah, okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve,
Second.
To authorize the superintendent.
to authorize the superintendent,
To
yes.
pick the most efficient procurement method.
Correct.
All right. So we have a motion by Mr. Lozano to allow Dr. Rivera to investigate a procurement procedure to find the best method. And then I have a second by Mr. Barco. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Do we need to go into
Yes,
item
you
D?
do.
All right.
You do, you have to, in the event that the superintendent deems
Decides?
that competitive seal proposal is better, then you need to give authorization on the.
On the ranking. All right, so item D is discussion and action on approval on the ranking criteria. So I have a motion by Mr. Barco,
Second.
second by Mr. Lozano. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Item
Thank
eight.
you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. Item eight, we have a closed session. The superintendent requests that the Board of Trustees convene in closed meeting as authorized in the previous provision of the Opens Acts meeting, Chapter 551 of Texas Government Code. This executive session is accordance with Texas Government Code 551.071, 72, 73, 74, 76, 082, 083, and 084. The time is 8:46. We are now in closed session. The time now is 8:31. We are back from closed session. We are on item number 9, right?
Yes.
All right, so we have discussion and possible action regarding personnel considering appointment, employment, resignation, retirement, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, and dismissal of a public officer or employee.
You have the list before you, resignations, new hires,
So moved.
transfers?
Second.
Okay? Motion made by Mr. Torres, second by Mr. Barco. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Item B, discussion action regarding, no action? All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Torres, second by Mr. Lozano. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion granted.